Hello, my friends. It's July 13th, 2004, and we've got some really important news and information to cover tonight, and I'm glad that you've joined us. Thank you. The websites are prisonplanet.com, INFOWARS.com, and now our new website, prisonplanet.tv. And I know that online, people all over the world watch this show. The first issue I'm going to cover is local news, but this affects you in the United States and all over the world. Then we'll get into discussions of suspending or canceling the election that we've been talking about for years, and now it's in the Associated Press and mainstream news. They're telling you how important it is, and it might be needed. And some of the latest torture developments, something we've been following here for quite a few years, even before it became a mainstream media issue. Feudalism is the economic, governmental, societal system where the elite set up the economy to enslave the people and to keep them at a subsistence level. Feudalism creates serfs, or 98% of the people being slaves, and the upper echelons of the slaves doing anything and everything in their power to please the overlords so they can gain ascension into the ranks of the elite. There is no such thing as communism or fascism or socialism or capitalism. Capitalism is really cronyism, cartelism. It's not free market, it's organized crime. Communism is a creation of the organized crime syndicates to con the serfs back into feudalism. Oh, big government will redistribute things, but you always get a tiny elite. Socialism is a more mild, incremental form of that. And if you want to use the common political science terms that you hear in university in the last 100 years, terms that weren't taught 100 years ago but are taught now, then socialism leads to communism, leads to fascism. Not socialism leads to communism and utopia. Whether it's China or Russia or any of these countries that are supposedly communist who started out socialist, you get a tiny elite running things and controlling the economy. Fascism. But again, forget those terms. The real discussion is about feudalism and the serfdom that we're being brought into. That was the political discussion at all Western universities until about 100 years ago. Things made sense. People could get things done. Politics was interesting. It was, what is the elite doing to consolidate power in a criminal fashion to enslave the population? Because that's what elites are about. Not manufacturing, not jobs, not freedom, not creativity. They hate all of that because that threatens their monopoly of power and control. Why do we see the robber barons of the 18, 19, early 1900s funding fascism, funding communism, funding both sides, funding dictators, warlords, thugs, whatever term you want to give it, command and controllers to centralize power? And they know that you don't read government handbooks. They know you don't read think tank reports. I do. We post them on the website. It's all about how to dumb you down, how to get control of your transportation, how to break up your family. It's about destroying the economy. It's about waging war on you, the population. That's what all these wars are about. It's the ruling class waging war on you. While they're waging war on the Iraqis, more importantly, they're waging war on you. And using that primitive psychology to get you behind this criminal system. Now, I said I had a local issue I want to talk about. 10 years ago, when I started this little cable show here in Austin, long before my radio show and my syndicated radio broadcast, I woke up to local corruption. The liberals said that, and again, that's a false term. It's feudalist, lord versus slaves who want to be free. That's the real paradigm. But people calling themselves liberal kept claiming that they were for the small guy, and I would go read their own reports, and they all worked for big corporations, and big government was for corporate welfare. And so the poor, downtrodden mass keeps crying out for freedom and economic freedom. And they think, oh, government, give me bigger government to get the evil corporations, when the evil corporations, and I don't mean your little corporation. If you've got $1 billion, you're a little corporation. I mean the big corporations that own the printing presses that print the money. That's the real elite, okay? They control the mints. They have the only license to issue money. It's alchemy. It's a total fraud. And there's so many facets of this feudalism, of this control. Feudal serfs in France 500 years ago, in England 300 years ago, weren't really allowed to travel outside of their towns, out of their boroughs. Even in the parliamentary system in England, the owner of the property that tens of thousands of people lived on would tell them who their member of parliament would be. And it's still like that in England to this day in many real cases, if you really study it. My point is transportation. This is only one area of control, but a very central one. I remember 6 years ago when my radio show, now 7 years ago, hard to believe, first got syndicated to a few stations, AM and FM shortwave internet. And I remember going online, beginning to get on the computer, reading a news article out of Milwaukee where a member of the legislature there, a Democrat, was going, I've been in the federal board meetings. I'm on this federal transportation board. They plan to have satellite tracking taxation boxes in all the cars. They're going to tax us. They're going to put up toll roads everywhere. It's run by the big corporations. It has nothing to do with good transportation. It's a fraud. And so he faxed me the documents. I had him on my radio show. And I'd go on the air and go, they plan to put satellite tracker boxes in your cars, to put up toll roads everywhere. And then I started having truckers send me transportation magazines where, you know, they were being told, yeah, you'll have to have this. It's for security. Oh, it'll make everything great. And then I found out that for 8 years, now almost 9, all new cars that are sold in the U.S., according to federal mandate, in the ignition have the plug-in for the satellite taxation box that you pay for when you get your license tags, and that they then plug into your car. Talk about premeditated. All the new cars have got it. They'll make you, if you have an old car, you'll have to go to the gas pump and plug it in, and it will interface with your car with the computer they put on the old gauge. I mean, and here was this guy telling me this 6, 7 years ago. And then last year, Oregon, Ohio, Florida. Oh, we may do this. Oh, it's a good plan. Oh, we don't have as much highway funds. We don't have money, which is another whole separate area of double books in government, and how the government is the corporations, the comprehensive annual financial reports, the double set of books, universities, water districts, school districts, counties, cities, states. UT has a $24 billion public slush fund. Their real slush fund is $118 billion. This is all public, by the way. It's not hidden. All the major, investment and bond houses get these. All the even small stock firms get these. The mutual funds. The taxing authority for the state will send you one of these for free. It's the size of a phone book. Last time I checked, it was in like 2000, and Texas every year had a $400+ billion, and it's just, you're going, oh, that's the military budget for the whole U.S. Folks, we're dealing with tens of trillions nationally. And you see, none of this is simple. That's why you've got to become informed about this like you're informed about football or how to act cool. You're all experts on that, but you don't know how many continents there are, who the second president was, what the Fourth Amendment is, where Iraq is on a map. Most adults can't find it on a map in major studies, but they'll tell you their opinion about it. We've gone from the smartest people in the world 50 years ago to the dumbest. That's the Fed's own numbers. And so they expand education funding. It's what they paid for is what they're getting. Back to transportation. So, in the next few years, it's already about to start in 3 states. It's all federally funded. They're going to tax you by the mile. England is starting it in London. It's only the equivalent of 60 cents a mile. Folks, I'm not kidding. The UN has said that they're going to get part of this tax. This has been set up, really part of a global sales tax. This will be a global energy tax. And they've got the phony left out promoting it, but it's all the big Halliburton, Carlyle groups owning these companies. I'm not kidding. And here's the Statesman. Here's the Austin American Statesman today. It passed. And they admit that only one sign out of hundreds was for the toll roads. And here's the toll road map. And if you study this toll road map, this is going in all over every major city, medium-sized cities like Austin, metro, 1 million people. And, in the past, even in corrupt, mafia-run places like New Jersey, where they all own the toll roads, literally, just one major road would be tolled. Oh, no. 7 roads. You really can't get anywhere without crossing it, because you'll just go into a mile or so of toll road. The old thing was, we'll finance a new road with a toll road, and that's fine. And then you'll have some 20 miles go all the way around if you want to pay. That's fine. No. This is existing highways that we've paid through the nose for. And they're going to take, by the way, I remember 3 years ago seeing the Central Texas conglomerate, the Campo plan. It's going to be all of MOPEC, all of 183. It's going to be everything. But don't worry. They said that because it causes congestion. San Francisco has now made people take the transponder, okay, or you pay double price when you go through with change or money. And it's just going to be choke points where they do it. It isn't a toll road. It's for everyone. You're forced onto it. So 360, 183, 290, 71, 45 Southwest, and that's just to begin with. The other new roads are all going to be tolled as well. And this is the first phase. And members of Campo, it's this big regional board with some elected officials, some that aren't. Those that were against it said, man, I got 6,000 emails against this. I've gotten hundreds of phone calls. All the signs are against it. The paper says, almost everyone there was against it. No one wants it. Devastating for the area where I live in southwest Austin. This thing's right down the road from my house. One of the big systems they're building. And the sick part is that the Texas Department of Transportation, in the comprehensive annual financial reports for the state of Texas, has tens of billions of dollars on their admitted budget surplus, and even more on their comprehensive annual financial report. That's the double set of books. I can make $1 million a year, but I say all I've got on my budget is $1,000 a month. And we have big discussions about budgets, and I write reports about budgets, and the reports are true about my budget. And we just never discuss, again, it's the magician's trick, we never discuss the real fund. 70+% of the stock market is investments of governmental and quasi-governmental organizations, like the Lower Colorado River Authority. And they know, you'll pay $20 to get a camping spot, to $10 to launch your boat, when it was free a few years ago. They know you'll pay double for your trash collection, and have it cut to once a week, overnight. They know you people will put up with anything because, you don't even know what the Fourth Amendment is or, again, how many continents there are, but you've got your opinions, don't you? And they've got all these leftists who aren't leftists at all, that are little mind-numbed corporate shills out there going, it's for the people, it's for the people, it's progressive, it's progressive. Too many cars, smog, bad. Folks, we're shifting out of freeways to tollways, because we're going out of a free market society, and we were quasi-free market, into a command and control feudal state. And this is the stated goal. Worldwide, these are going in. And I remember then 4 years ago reading, I'm sorry, that was 6 again. It's in, but time just flies. It was 5.5. In early 99, I made Police State 2000. But the video that we'd compiled was from 98. And I got the National Seatbelt Initiative, $2.4 billion a year just in planning, passed by Bill Clinton. And again, the Republicans are all for it. Nice name, National Seatbelt Initiative. And it said we're going to put in toll roads, and then we're going to set up checkpoints and search cars at these. And then when we were up in Kansas and Missouri last year, going up there for a speaking engagement, they have, this has been in the news, scanners that scan your license plate. And if you got a felony or a ticket or something, they just pull you over at the checkpoint and, go. This is the new freedom. You're like, well, you better pay that ticket. Come on, folks, come on. They're passing laws for everybody now. They're making us all criminals. They're building more and more prisons, biggest part of our economy. And looking at this, I can drive to downtown in 10 minutes after 6:30 at night or early in the morning. I can enjoy myself around Austin. I can do whatever. I pay out the nose in state taxes, all these new ones they've erected. The Texas Department of Transportation has tons of state money, tons of federal money. This line about how we can't buy emergency equipment unless we have a tax increase, they always hold off until that last, and that's on the budget. And to see that 183 north, 183 south, 290, 360, 71, another branch of 290. William Cannon. Mopac Boulevard, 290 east from US 183, Capitol Texas Highway, everywhere I go. And it's like, well, man, you don't want to pay, you got plenty. Folks, it has nothing to do with money. The people running this society print the money. This is about control. I've read the federal plans. I've interviewed members of Congress and members of state legislatures. I've read the transportation bills. This is a hellish system. Our society is sprawling, is based on the automobile, and they have no intention of phasing it out or putting in good trains. They're going to make it hell and make all of us pay through the nose to use it. On top of a new national sales tax, and they're going to keep the income tax too, the transportation tax, the money transfer banking tax. They all are doing it. And they even admit in the paper that almost everyone who called Campo, this new regional government, the city, the county, that 90+% were against it, that there was only one side at the meeting for the toll roads out of hundreds that were against it. All of this, and Campo, the little regional government with these elected people, doesn't care. They just laugh at you. Why do they laugh? They didn't laugh in the past. Because it was a messy business with those old scantrons to steal elections. And because now, by the way, you can read this in the Philadelphia Daily News and the major papers, hundreds of articles on my websites, prisonplanet.com, INFOWARS.com. The CIA, I've been saying runs the major 3 voting machine companies. I was wrong. The major 4, and the other large 5th one run by the former head of the NSA. Clear Channel then owns Hardinter Civics. What about the 10th largest? The 8th largest is owned by Senator Hagel, and the entire state of Nebraska uses his machines, and he won on a landslide when the polls showed he'd lose by 50% with people voting on his own machines. I mean, it's been proven to be a fraud. Their engineers have quit these companies and gone public before having automobile accidents and dying. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So they don't care if 1,000 of you go down there. They don't care if they get 10,000 phone calls and every member of it gets 6,000 emails. They don't care if you march by the hundreds of thousands because they got trained goons in black ski masks to beat your heads in with nightsticks because they'll have 5 hired anarchists who'll burn a trash can who work for the federal government and go, oh, look, we got terrorists. Attack the women and children. I've got video all over the country now of them doing this. First in Seattle. Admissions, mainstream news articles now coming out and admitting it. New York Daily News. Fury at anarchist convention threat. No one's going to be allowed to protest now because the anarchists who are always protected by the police are going to show up and cause a problem. I want to shut down opposition? I just hire some thugs to cause a problem. Then my guys in black ski masks can come beat the hell out of you. So you want to know why they're so arrogant, putting in toll roads. I mean, folks, I've read about New Jersey, New York. I've been there. The Bay Area in Northern California, hellish toll roads. The Midwest, I've been through dozens of them. No one has ever at once put in 9 toll roads. 9 toll roads at once on existing roadways. And they say it's because they don't have enough money. Again, the University of Texas, and I use this example because it's one of the few instances where people have heard what I'm saying. $24 billion extra at the top of the budget that's never touched. And it grows by hundreds of millions each year. But they raise your tuition. I know people who've got master's degrees in 8 years at UT who might have had a professor that spoke English twice. They give you crappy textbooks, teaching you garbage, throw them to you, and it's your job. You pay $80, $90, $100,000. You get gouged to go to UT, and they've got this supposed state-run but quasi-private with private investments. How many of you know UT founded Clear Channel? How many of you knew that? How many of you knew that all over universities are used as the private foundations to fund the overthrow of this country? How many of you knew that Bush used UT money to take over the Rangers? These are just small little things. How many of you knew that $24 billion? It's $22 billion a year ago. I say it goes up a few hundred million, went up to $24 billion this year, last time I saw the number. $24 billion. And folks, I've seen their numbers off budget in their CAFR. And no, that's not a South African slang against black people. Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. I had a guy email me once. What are you saying that word for? The ignorance. And I'm not even that smart. That's what's so frustrating about this. Do you willfully want to be raped by these people? They got money. They print the money, number one. Number two, taxation is the power to destroy. It's a control mechanism. Mike's asking if I'm making calls tonight. No, I'm not. Thank you. That's how Mike communicates with me, by flashing on the screen. If you're watching this as a tape show later, you may not see it on screen, but and the websites are prisonplanet.com and INFOWARS.com and prisonplanet.tv. It's like watching somebody get conned by a carnival huckster hundreds of times, and you point out the fraud, that the P isn't under any one of the shells, and these people laugh at you. But obviously, I said this to Mike, people are idiots tonight. He said, no, they're not. Everybody's against it. It's true. By the way, they can never pass that light rail initiative. Oh, it's going to pass now. Clear Channel's machines. By the way, this whole thing, you talk about feudalism, there's little corporate fiefdoms or vice fiefdoms everywhere. Clear Channel is a creature of UT, and Lowry Mays, the owner of it, got his 10th district, and his son-in-law, Michael McCall, the underdog, wins by this bizarre fluke off his father-in-law's machines, and he's also his biggest campaign contributor. And so all over the country, if you own the voting machines in Nebraska, you're Senator Hagel, you own the company, you go, I think I'll be a senator. By the way, I own the voting machines used in the state. It's not a big deal. Just, oh, I won by a landslide, despite the fact I was 15% behind in polls. Oh, magic, fluke, And then here in Texas, Clear Channel, run by UT, owns the voting machines, and their people go in and just blah, 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 And the Democrats in their areas, they'll probably put Kerry in for you or something. Who knows what will happen? I don't know. But then, the Democrats will suddenly go, well, I guess the electronic machines are pretty darn good. It's just dividing up areas of the country. It's like Byzantine, Machiavellian Italy or something. I love this country. But this is really going to really affect us. It's one thing just to pay a tax, money out of a bank account. I don't even really care about that. It's bad enough. It's control. It's feudalism, serfdom. But to have to sit there in the red lights and at the tollways and everywhere to get anywhere, it's all strategically placed where if you want to travel across town or even through a small area of town, you're going to go through these. And that's just phase one. That's just phase one here. That's just phase one. And to know that they don't need the money, to know they've got plenty of money, but it's private corporations that are going to build the expansion of the roads, that are going to administer these, and it's just so sad. And it's going on everywhere. Again, Austin's a microcosm. By the way, you ought to see these toll roads when you're on I-35 up in Kansas and places, all the way up to Minnesota. You'll go 50 miles and you can't exit. There's giant concrete and fences and no exits. The McDonald's and gas stations are in the middle with their own water towers. And you're driving by all these old towns and you'll look off and see cool courthouses and stuff. I'd like to pull off and see that. But they're like ghost towns. Everything's shut down. And you're driving. And for 50 miles, 60 miles, you can't exit. There's high walls and fences. And you're just driving with the cameras and the scanners. And, scanning your license plate. And you're just, man, you can't get off. You can't get off. God Almighty, they're building a prison for us. I wish you people educate yourselves on this. God Almighty, this is high tech, folks. This is evil. And our own beloved Austin is going to be trashed irreparably. It's not about free market. It's about centralization, so smaller and smaller cronies can control things. I got other news here that's of even greater import, but I never get off into stuff like this, and I should. I've studied it. Lord knows I've looked at it, but I just use the UT example because UT's got $24 billion, they admit, extra, and it gets bigger every year. And they get state funding and your taxes and everything else, but their tuition goes up every year. And they gouge, and they do a horrible job. And they pay their librarians less than a McDonald's employee gets. And they're opulently rich. You ever seen their board members in these big gold chairs going, and it's all about their private investments. I sit on the board of this company, and I'm going to invest $1 billion in my company. Just open it. It's not even corruption. It's corrupt now not to be corrupt. I can't believe it. And they laugh at you. They know you're not informed. They know you don't know anything. But you can learn. You can get involved for God's sakes. While they laugh at you. And the so-called left out there thinking toll roads are cute because they play that little game where their neocon says it's bad. Well, if he's a Republican, the toll roads must be good. But meanwhile, it's all just a backroom game, a puppet show. Here's one out of the Trentonian, the Pulitzer Prize-winning newspaper. And New Jersey State Police, Israelis train troopers. And there's the new trooper. And they admit that the Israelis are training them in how to arrest people and how to run checkpoints and how to do that. And the Israelis have said they will kill Americans on American soil. Bush said last year, that's fine. Am I against Israel? Well, yeah, I'm against any country coming here and saying they can just kill Americans and commit assassinations. And our president going, go ahead. And all over the country, it's Russian and German and British, and it's all international. I saw on News 8 a few months ago our police being sworn in as UN police. Just, okay, no big deal, you know. Israelis train state troopers, you know, just no big deal. Here's another one. Been talking about this for years. Election day worries. And it says, let me just find the Voice of America one. It's shorter and quicker. It's the Voice of America, your government propaganda arm. Told you about this back on May 28th when I learned of it. We're a month and a half later. It's now big news. Homeland Security confirms Election Day talks. The Department of Homeland Security has confirmed that the Bush administration has discussed possibly delaying the November presidential election if there's a new terrorist attack by them. The report in Newsweek magazine, and confirmed Monday, says the discussions were spurred by a letter, it's independent, from U.S. Election Assistance Commission Chairman DeFrost Soares. Well, the Bush administration 3 years ago created the Election Assistance Commission and got almost $5 billion funding. These are the guys that come muscle, or in many cases pay off, that's about to come out here in Austin, local officials. Don't worry, though, nothing's going to happen to you. We'll get in trouble for exposing it. Not being a criminal is what's bad in Orwell's world. And he was appointed by Bush. But he's got Democratic support, and DeFrost Soares, putting in the electronic voting machines, federally funded, helping you. He brought it to Bush's attention that they may need to suspend the election or back it off a while. You go, wait a minute, I thought Kerry's Bush's cousin and Skull and Bones. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. But it's part of getting you used to it. You know, well, sometimes we don't have elections. Well, sometimes we just, on red alerts, we can't leave our house. It's just all part of the acclimation. So, Newsweek, Mr. Soares wrote Homeland Security Director Tom Ridge to suggest asking Congress for emergency legislation to allow postponing the election after an attack. Congresswoman Jane Harman, the senior Democrat on the House of Representatives Intelligence Committee, called the plan excessive. But the Republican chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, California Christopher Cox, told CNN Sunday the request was prudent effort to plan for what he called doomsday scenarios. And you go, well, we could be attacked. That might be needed. Look at Spain, which was obviously a government op. We have a whole section on that on the website. It's now been admitted, but just ignore it for yourselves. This is very serious. And there's been far too much focus since the mid-'80s on suspending elections. Oh, yes, mid-'80s. Rex 84, the program for terror attacks and suspending elections. And I hope you all take this very, very seriously, because this is of the highest import. Because it won't just be the Skull and Bones Kerry Bush diversion. It'll be for Congress. And they say that they're already going to dispatch Homeland Security to oversee the electronic voting machines. Oh, yes, I have that here in the articles. Homeland Security is going to oversee the electronic voting systems and make sure no terrorists try to hurt them. So now it's a terrorist matter being involved in standing up to the electronic voting. I have all the articles. The Toronto Star said it right. Bush is sowing fears for votes. We've got Ridge in front of all the surveillance cameras looking at different cities. See, Big Brother gives you safety. We're going to be hit. Give up all your rights. And this is from INFOWARS.com. We posted the Newsweek article And again, over a month ago, we wrote a report that's also in this grouping of stories about moves to suspend the election. And it says, fear-mongering and conditioning for total control, terror, martial law, and the end of the Constitution. We wrote our own little blurb above the Newsweek article. More news today about terror and the elections. This time we're being warned that the election could be postponed. There's a hyperlink to that in the event of a terror attack. At the beginning of the month, we were warned that they might be canceled outright. This is not to mention Homeland Security's ongoing fear-mongering that a horrible attack is being aimed at the elections. Across the news wires, the administration is letting us know that security is being vamped up in fear of a terrible attack. We all know who stands to gain from such a horrible attack. We're being conditioned by this fear to accept the New World Order police state system. The globalist overlords will offer us should they proceed and orchestrate another terrible attack. Consider this, the fear-mongering is even greater. Attention in the mainstream media. Last week, the San Francisco Chronicle reported some believe Bush is spreading fear for his own means. Don't forget Tommy Franks in the December 2003 interview in Cigar Aficionado saying after the next attack, we're going to have martial law.